This is how it was portrayed in mainstream media.
Unarmed protesters gunned down in the streets by the riot police who were retreating from Kiev's Maidan Square.
They targeted lines of security forces a short distance away, standing beyond the range of rocks and bottles.
The protesters have homemade shields and numbers. The police have water cannon and stun grenades.
But this is what it looked like in reality. After 3 months of confrontation on Kiev's main square, the situation reached the boiling point, and the 20th of February 2014 became the bloodiest day of the Maidan, leaving 49 dead and 157 people wounded. This was the turning point. The protests could have died down, but they didn't. They got more violent, and the claim was that the violence was coming from the government. A great way to force Ukraine's president to succumb to protesters' demands. 9 years on, and there's still no proof that government forces were shooting at protesters. Only evidence to the contrary. The snipers firing were from buildings controlled by pro-European protesters. And based on forensic evidence, many of those who were killed and wounded were shot in the back or from significant vertical angles, whereas the police were right in front of them, or on the same level at least.
The top to bottom direction of his wounds, his position in the video, and findings from a forensic medical examination about the location of entry wounds in his right side and back indicate gunshots from that hotel and not from the Berkut Ukrainian Special Forces in front of him. Several other eyewitnesses, including other Maidan protesters, a medic and a German journalist, also said he was killed by a sniper from the Hotel Ukraine, in particular from the 7th floor.
There's more. The bullets came from hunting rifles. Well, guess what? Government forces didn't use hunting rifles, but you know who did? That's right, the protesters. Something that was even documented on mainstream media.
Conservatory building, several hundred meters away, was firmly in the hands of the protesters. Just after 8 o'clock that morning, a news photographer had managed to get into the building with his camera.
When I come inside, I saw the guys. One come after me with just a hunting rifle.
Not exactly a clear picture, is it? Incredible, considering it's been 9 years. But what's more incredible is the evidence that has magically disappeared.
We must realise that the way the investigation was conducted, unfortunately, did not give society answers to key questions. We have huge questions about the quality of the investigation. Some materials simply disappeared, while in other points the investigation was sabotaged.
This is the man who was adamant that the government controlled the snipers and not Maidan leaders like himself. So where is the proof? Nowhere to be found, apparently. The shields and helmets of those who were killed and injured, where are they? Gone. Extracted bullets? Disappeared. Recordings of live streams, CCTV from Hotel Ukraina? Erased. Isn't that weird? Even EU officials started wondering what was going on, as we later found out from this leaked phone call.
It's really disturbing that now the new coalition, that they don't want to investigate what exactly happened, so that there is now stronger and stronger understanding that behind snipers, it was not Yanukovych, but it was somebody from the new coalition. It already discreditates from very beginning also this new coalition.
Yeah, it's really disturbing, but let's continue supporting them anyway. After all, the West had been egging them on for so long. Victoria Nuland flew in 3 times and was literally feeding pro-European protesters. U.S. Senator John McCain joined the party, encouraging protesters to keep going, agreeing with them that their future is in Europe no matter what their democratically elected president wants or has decided to do.
I hope the people of Ukraine know that the United States stands with you in your search for justice, for human dignity, for security, for economic health, and for the European future that you have chosen and that you deserve.
We will be back here on this square to celebrate with you. People of Ukraine, this is your moment. This is about you, no one else.
No one else? Really? Then why was the West literally in Ukraine's business discussing and planning who should run what? We've all heard the leaked conversations where the West insisted on Arseniy Yatsenyuk to become Ukraine's new leader. And sure enough, their guy was installed and traveled to Washington right away. So the crowds in Kiev and the hawks in Washington got what they wanted. A pro-Western government with no ties to Russia. A scary prospect for those Ukrainians who aligned with Russia linguistically, historically, and culturally. So they took to the streets, often meeting a brutal consequence, like the massacre in Odessa, where almost 50 of them were trapped in a building that was set ablaze, burning them alive. This, of course, cemented clearly the hatred between the two sides.
We realized that Kiev had decided our fate without asking us. They said that they wanted to be with Europe and didn't need the Eurasian Customs Union and Russia. The things that were going on in Kiev disturbed us hugely.
We all know what happened after that. Crimea detached and joined Russia, the civil war in Donbass started, and NATO began arming the Kiev regime, with civilians terrorized for years. Now, let's take a moment to remember John McCain's words in Kiev once again.
This is about the future you want for your country. This is about the future you deserve.
Deserve what? Is this what he had in mind? Surely the West didn't expect Russia to allow a puppet regime to terrorize its civilians and arm up along its borders with hopes and dreams of being part of NATO. Every action has a reaction, and the West's actions point to the fact that Maidan was a gateway to a war with Russia.